Well, I thought I'd start with the sky tonight. It's a beautiful evening, the end of an absolutely beautiful autumnal day, which started very early this morning with bright, bright sunshine. So the bees and the butterflies have had a brilliant time today all over these sedums. See these great big pink flowers? Now I'm going to be moving these over to the Lunasa garden for the bees and the butterflies next year. I think most of them have gone off to bed now because it's I haven't got my watch on, but I think it must be 7 o'clock or near enough. Hold on a moment. There's one little one who hasn't gone to bed. In fact, there's a few that haven't gone to bed. Look at them. And this little one, look, here we go, there's another little one. And here's one who thinks she's going to sleep on the sedum. No, girl, you can't sleep there. You've got to go to bed somewhere. I can just see the little tongue that she has, and she's just kind of, drinking up the nectar. She's probably quite drunk on nectar. So the sedums are just so special for the bees and the butterflies, because I always say this is the final feast for them. This is the final kind of, end of party. There's another little one in there, look. The bees, that's a little carder bee there. The bees will keep going right up until it's almost dark. So, I'm going to go on a little walk with Jack, who's behind me. Come on, boy. Oh, hang on a moment. There's a beautiful bumblebee. Can you hear it? Come flying over there. Jack thinks someone's coming up the drive, but I don't think so. It's that kind of an evening when any sound down on the road seems to kind of echo up, because there is a hill up here behind. Jack? Come on. Let's go down this way. Jack thinks there's someone there. I don't think there is anyone there, Jack. He's listening. Okay. So we'll walk down through the apple trees here and the beautiful cotoneaster, rich in berries. I'm going to be harvesting some of these berries and extracting the seed and putting them up on the website. But not just yet. I'll leave it until, well, usually if you can leave it to the first frost, it helps to just prepare the berries. Jack's gone over there. This is the little side garden. I call it the side garden because in the early years, so I'm talking, 10, 11, 12 years ago, this was one of the first little areas that I cultivated, because obviously it was closest to the cottage. But it's kind of getting all grown over now, which is how I want it. You can see the leaves are starting to drop. Now the first leaves to drop here at Bealtaine, they're supposed to be the ash, because they say the ash is the first to leaf. Sorry, the last to leaf and the first to fall. Well, actually, that's the ash tree there. These leaves are from the birch. So I found here at Bealtaine, it's the birch trees which will drop their leaves first. So that's the first real kind of colour of autumn. So we're just walking along the front bank by the cottage. Visitors who come here are always astounded that, you know, all this has grown in the space of 12 years from nothing, you know. There was nothing here, and it was just like a lot of the trees I've actually grown from seed. Just go down these steps. I'm going to just concentrate a little bit because the steps can be a little bit slippy. I'm holding on to the sedge here. Not that that's going to save me. Oh, foolish woman. Oh, never mind. I just want to show you something here on the steps. Look at the lady's mantle that's just seeded itself there. And then further up, some little ferns. So, this tree behind the chair, we'll pan right up to the top on this beautiful sunny evening, is a cherry tree. Now, I brought that here 12 years ago in a little plastic coffee cup, bedded in with a little bit of wet cotton wool and tied up in a plastic bag. So this beautiful cherry tree is 12 years old, and it's been fruiting for years now. I've allowed it just to attain its full height and let the birds have the cherries. It's worth it just to hear them sing. So I'm now pointing towards the fairy wood, or the fairy dell, because you can see this is on a slope. Okay, it's going all the way down there. And the fairy dell, the fairy wood, is actually about 8 feet, you know, deeper than where I'm standing now. It goes right down. But what we're going to do, because the battery's very low, I'm just going to, now when this cuts off, it cuts off, alright? I'll just keep going to the end. I'm going to go into the fairy wood on this lower entrance. You can see I've got, this is a chestnut tree, this is bamboo. I'll just pan up so you can see the chestnut tree. And I'm going to go down here to where there is an ash tree that I think, well, this ash tree was here when I arrived. It must have been coppiced at one point because there's now quite a few different stems on it. But this is a beautiful magical tree. It is actually one of the old Celtic magical trees, because let me just show you what you can see in this poor light now. It's got like a big well in the middle of it, ferns all around it, and down here, oh gosh, the light's very poor now, but there's a little sort of an entrance to an underworld. an other world. Isn't it lovely? All those stems are just from one tree. I'll come down here again actually when, perhaps kind of during the day or something. But there's just not enough light to film here. So I'll go on back up and into the light. And I suppose in the next few years this area will all close in as well. So it will all be a woodland, a much needed woodland in this beautiful country. Ireland used to be covered with great oak and ash forests, and not that long ago, about 400 years ago, and of course during the invasions of Ireland, there wasn't just one, there was kind of subsequent invasions, and I suppose, as with all invasions, the kind of taking of resources. So much of the forests of Ireland would have been cut down and taken away during the Tudor days, because of course the economy was built upon hardwood. So the sad thing is that there's been no desire to replant woodlands or forests, and that's why I just feel it's so very important, and why I've put all my energy, all my time, all my resources into planting this small 3 acres. And if I had 30 acres, I would just continue planting, because it's desperately needed. We need to have woodland. All of us know the importance of woodland. We know the importance of the trees. We know the importance of habitat. And what's happened at Bealtaine should give everyone lots of hope, because the people who say, oh, you cannot replant a wood or replant a forest, well, yes, you jolly well can, because you don't sit moaning about what you can't do. You simply just get off your backside and go and do it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but you know something? It's worked here. It's worked here just with one, grandmother planting on her own. And don't just plant trees, because people who think they can establish a woodland just by planting trees are misguided from my point of view, okay? Because in my experience with underplanting, like whether it be shrubs like this, grasses like this, sedge, flowers, fuchsia, Rosa canina, the wild roses, anything, just underplant. Make sure that it's not just the top canopy that you've got your eye fixed on, it's the middle canopy, so you can put in things like cotoneasters and Cornus alba sibirica, the dogwoods, and then the lowest canopy. So what you're doing is you're not just creating a woodland of trees, you're creating a multi-layered, multi-storied habitat. Because if you don't create habitat for the wildlife, for the birds, for the bees, you're not going to have a resilient woodland. You're only going to have an area planted by trees, which is not a woodland. A woodland has got to be as complex as you can make it. I'm going to just walk along this path. Okay, this was a very, very wet area 12 years ago. You know, I mean, look, imagine it. It was just rushes. Okay, poor land, rushes, north facing. It's been planted, it's been densely planted. So I put in willow, I put in dogwoods, I put in, I don't know how many different kinds of trees, whatever I could grow, whatever I could graft, whatever I could just plant went in. And then the understory has got things like garden plants here. Look, this is actually spirea, okay, but it has served a purpose. It's helped to create biodiversity and their resilience. And, you know, hard to believe that just the other side of that tree there is actually the driveway. You know, it's just to walk along this path, you'd think this path had been here forever. And all the ferns that's come in. And then when I come down and I'm cutting back, I'll make little brushwood piles. Put stones in here, like along the edge. They're now covered with moss. So everything takes on a life of its own. There's a little bit of sedge, look, in there. There are now little seedling trees coming up, little ash trees. Eventually, a lot of the ash trees will take over. So it's now on a little kind of life of its own. It doesn't matter what happens to me and my existence here, this place will go on. It will go on building itself because it's been planted, it's been helped along during those early years, and now it's just magical. And there is a magic, because I do believe that all these trees, plants, soil, you know, if you believe in the Gaia theory, which I think it just makes sense to me, it's all alive, it's all absorbing, it's all giving, even thinking. We, in our arrogance, you know, think that we're the only ones who exist, that live, you know, that think. We're like children. We're like children. I sometimes think Jack's got more sense than many of the people I know. Jack, come here. Good boy. So I'm just coming out into the kind of middle of the driveway. Look down that way. Look up that way. I'll just walk back up. Like I say, I'll just keep going until this battery runs out. It's sort of a red on the screen at the moment. God, I love these trees. I absolutely love them. If someone had told me, you know, say 15 years ago, Colette, you'll end up having a love affair with trees. Oh gosh. This beauty here, I mean this one, I think it's a little sycamore. Look, it's grown from here, right? 1, 2, about 3 foot this year. Now this is something else which I actually meant to talk about, so I'm just going to touch upon it now. we know that we're producing twice as much CO2 as the plant life on Earth can actually deal with. So this is what I'm thinking, and it's on my mind every day because I'm seeing it, I'm experiencing it. Mother Earth is making everything grow at a very fast rate. Yes, I know the CO2 helps, so I don't need comments like, well, CO2 makes trees grow. Yes, I know all that. I'm very well aware of that. But there has been this extraordinary growth this year. There has also been an extraordinary abundance of berries on trees. And I don't think that's for the birds. I think that's the trees actually following a kind of how can I describe it? Like a vibrational instruction from Mother Earth to multiply. I have never seen as many little plants come up all over the garden. And here's an example, look. Remember this little garden that I put in